So a couple weeks ago, I put in a new, or last week or whenever, I put in a new version and has all kinds of new features. So I wanted to demo some of them and give you an idea of what's happened in case you haven't really looked. So as you can see, there's a number of things here. So the first one, I think people are going to be pretty excited about. Um, I've got a couple different projects and whatever I can demo. So let me find the right one for this. Oh, no, this isn't the one I was thinking about, but this is pretty interesting. So basically, this allows you now to make a report public if you want. So I'm going to bring a project over here. This is a very, very simple project. And let me make it a little bigger. Okay, so this is just a test from this little tiny project that I have here. So if I go in and look at this report, I just have two fields here, an ID and a gender. And, you know, I included a live filter because I wanted to test this aspect. So the new addition is right here. It allows you to enable your report and enable it as a public link. So you could post that link somewhere on a site and people could click on it so they wouldn't have to be users on your project. And so if, for example, you wanted to have people be able to track how many people, let's say, had been vaccinated or had been tested, antibody tested, something along those lines. Excuse me. You could do that. So I'm just going to turn this on so we can see what you get. Oh, yeah. So the first thing you have to do once you create the report is save it, view the report. And so this is what it looks like. It just shows gender. So we'll come back to edit the report and then we'll turn this on. So keep that in mind if you want to make it public. First, you can't just start off making it public. Build a project, take a look at it, and then you can make it public. So even though I didn't even know this because I had built this already, but obviously I had to run it first and then I could come back in here. So the big factors in this is REDCap's putting more requirements on you as a administrator or manager of your project. So you certainly do not want to put PHI in a report that's accessible to anyone with a public link. So you're going to sign off that you understand that you are not going to put any kind of protected health information in a report that's public, and that you are responsible if any private, sensitive, or identifying data is exposed. Your name is going to be on the report. Your name is going to be tied into the saving of this. So you're on the hook. If somebody else were to modify this, then they would be logged with that, having made those changes. But it's one of those things where you may want to limit who can access your project for edit access. So all I've done is turn this on, and a public link has been created. There is also, I went ahead and created a custom link. I just clicked on the little option button here, and it turned into this. So if I take this and I just plug this into my browser and run it, there's my report, and it's web-based now. And what I was curious about, would it include the live filter? And it does. So you can actually have the report that's filterable on the web and accessible to anybody if that's something that you want to do. And if you want to make a change, like if you want to add a variable or whatever to your report, you're not going to be able to until you remove the public link. So once you turn on the public link, you're locked as far as making changes. So if I wanted to add something here, I don't think I can. I forget if I added some. Oh, see, I can't even do anything. So you have to turn this off first before you can make any changes. And then make your changes, save it, and then when you're ready, you can then enable it as a public link again, and it will be visible. But you, like right now, I can't. Oh, I can. So we back here, we can do this, make the report public, and it's accessible. So that's the first new addition to REDCap. Let me pull that out, and let me disable that public link and save it. All right. So next, smart variables. There's a bunch of new smart variables that are kind of cool. So I'm going to pull over another project here. And we'll take a look at this. Before I do this, I have noticed that some other people have joined. Does anyone have a problem they want me to take a look at before I continue with demoing all the new features for REDCap? This is a support session, so if you have an issue, then please let me know. You can either let me know through the chat or just unmute yourself and yell at me, whichever you want to do. All right, I'm going to continue. And if you have a question or an issue, stop me. So there's a number of these new smart variables. And if you're not familiar with smart variables, you can see what they are anytime you're in the project setup tab. There's a green button here for smart variables, and if you click on them, you can see, all these different ways you can pull up information that's part of, the data, but it's behind the scenes kind of thing, or you can use it, especially in like alerts and notifications. It's very, very handy there. But there is a new option here as a smart variable called the event ID. And I have been trying to think of how this would benefit you. I know how it benefits me, but so I think I put this in the test. I'm going to see here in a second. I'm going to open one of these. Open up tests. Nope. Oh, I think I did it on EKG. Yes. So what I did here, so you know, I just created a descriptive text field and then added this new smart variable, which is the event ID. Now, if you know that you have a project ID, okay, you see it up here. What you may or may not know is that when you create a longitudinal study, what you know for your events are these unique event names. But behind the scenes, just like any variable, there is a or any option button, you know, when there's a 1, 2, 3, 4, something like that behind the option button, there's actually numbers that correspond to those event names. And we use them to pull up certain information and do filtering for records. But they've added as smart variable the event ID. So once I put it on the smart variable in there, and then I ran it, now I can see the event ID. If I were to go to back to this and look at the EKG form here, 49603 versus 49645. So you can see the event ID changes based on the event. So that's one that they added. Another one that I'm particularly happy about is this survey return code. So if you have one of these surveys where it's like save and return later kind of thing, the person gets a code. And if you, like, we have a scheduling piece for our antibody testing. So I had to write a script to capture that return code and then plug it into an alert and notification. So I created a field for the return code. I wrote a script that would grab it, plug it into the return code, and then when we sent out the alert and notification, it would show the user the return code so that they would be able to get back in. Well, now I won't have to do that anymore because they've created a variable, a smart variable for that return code. So if I look at the record status dashboard and go back into that first record, and this is the one, I'm pretty sure it's test, and I look at a survey, if you were in here, you'd be able to see this return code, but you would not be able to like include it in any kind of mailing. It's not available. This is for your eyes only up here, because this tells you, you know, the response times and all these this information relating to the saving of the survey and timestamps and this and that. But this return code is not available to send to anybody. But I just created a field down here, and you wouldn't have to do this. This is for demonstration purposes only. But here's the survey return code for this particular instrument. And so when I run it, it's just a validation here. You can see that they're the same. So if I wanted to create an alert and notification and plug in to this somewhere, that return code, I could use that smart variable. So I'm very pleased about that. User role ID, user role name, user role label. These are all things that you can add if you have a project where you've set up roles for your users. So don't have anything that really has any role information, but you can guess, this is simply returning this information if you need it to find out what the role of this person is, or, what the ID is. So you can play around with that if you're interested in user role being returned as a variable. This is another kind of interesting one, this max choice survey complete. So we have on our scheduling piece, well, let me just call that up for you real quick. Let me add a project and pull up a test instance of this. I think this will work. So when we set up when we designed this scheduling piece for these projects, we wanted to find a way to limit how many people could select a time, because we didn't want, the whole purpose of scheduling is to stagger the people coming in, so everybody doesn't show up at the same time. That's why you schedule it. But if you look, we use this max choice option, which says only 2 people, and this has been in existence before, so you may or may not have used this before. But the max choice says that for that time, 0800, only 2 people can register for that particular time slot. And, this is customizable. We ask the sites how many people they are available to see at a certain time point, and like we'll cut out for lunch, or maybe there'll be 1 person available over lunch, whatever. But you can configure this max choice. What this doesn't exactly address, though, is those situations where you've set this up and then somebody doesn't really finish filling out the survey. So they may have taken a slot here, but they never really finished the rest of the information. And so, the scheduling, it may not be the best example for this, but the point is, if somebody doesn't finish the survey and complete it, they've taken a slot that they're not going to use. Well, this new version change has a new action tag, and it's called survey complete. This ensures that the max choice is going to be only affected if the survey is complete. So it would keep you from losing any available slots because somebody just went in and got started and then left before they were finished, and they never planned on being a part of whatever the survey was collecting. You know, how many different choices there are. So another place that you see this is if you have like 5 options and you're trying to maybe establish, have people in your study that meet certain criteria. Only you want only 5 males and 5 females, and if the person doesn't finish the survey, then you still have all 5 slots available for people to sign in, you know, to enter data into your study. Okay, so the Tableau data export, this is something new I'm working with, and as we get more information about working with Tableau for you, we're going to do a whole presentation about using this. I started setting it up before the meeting, but it takes more time than we have. So the next one is project level setting, prevent branching logic from hiding fields that have values. So probably, P, there's a whole slew of people that are applauding this, especially if you are new to REDCap. And I think, I know I set this up somewhere. Let me see over here. I'm sure I put it in here. Oh, no, I did not put it over. Hang on. My other one here. So if I open up record number 5, I have some branching logic in there. And how many times have you seen this where you've got some branching logic error and it's going to confuse everybody because, you know, are you going to erase this or not erase this? So if I cancel this, you can see my little form here, and all it has is gender and are you pregnant? Well, are you pregnant is only visible if you check female. So I purposely did this to cause a branching logic error. But there's a new feature here, and this is one of those things, again, that I would caution you to use with a little forethought before you go jumping in and changing the setting. But in the additional customizations, they've added an option here: prevent branching logic from hiding fields that have value. So if I check that and save that and go back to my record status dashboard and open record number 5 now, I no longer get that error. So I know so many people that run into this where they see branching logic errors and they're frustrated. So I'm just saying that they've added this new feature so it doesn't, it no longer hides those fields. Let's go to the next one. Oh, yeah, this is the one that I think everybody's going to be like, oh, finally. All right, so I'm over here. I've got a report. Oh, good. So I have this EKG resend test. And if I look at it, It's a longitudinal study. Oh, it's a repeating instrument. So I've got these repeating instruments, and how many of us have seen this gray crap that is, oh, question in the chat. Thank you. I'm a little bit disorganized here with where's my chat? Does using an autofill action tag prevent that autofill action tag prevent? Okay. I'm going to stop here for a second just to answer this question. Does using an autofill action tag, or default answer? I know what you mean, Carlos. So basically, you could set up a. Let me have my little tiny test, and he's just saying that if you set this to automatically, have some value like you set the action tag here for default or today or something like that, and it was automatically filled, but there's branching logic that affects it. Would it prevent that branching logic error if it was being shown when it was autofilling? And the answer is yes. It will prevent that branching logic error. Understand that all you've done is generally bypass information that could be useful for you in getting your project quote unquote correct. But if you feel it's necessary to have that autofill action, then and it's throwing branching logic errors and you don't want it to, yes, you can set that now and it will keep you from getting that error. So nice feature. That's a good example though, Carlos, of something that would be irritating and you'd like it to not show that error to your survey users or anybody that's doing data entry. Okay, back here to this. So we've all seen this mess here and it's like frustrating. It looks ugly and whatever. So they finally have added a new option here in the report options. In the report, they've automatically checked these two here, but this is the one that is the big one. Include the repeating instance fields. So if I uncheck that, save the report and run it now, I no longer get that big gray mess because it's a repeating instrument. So you still get all the data out, but you no longer, just because you're pulling data off of a repeating instrument, you no longer get all that gray mess to show. So yeah, yeah. So I already see in the chat people responding to that, and I knew as soon as I saw that would be one of those features that people would be jumping up and down about. This is another, I mean, this can be nice. And I did use this option in this particular report. So basically it's saying that if you pull in a text field or a notes field and there's a URL in it or an email address, they will be live. And so you can use them. So for example, I included the email address here. And so let's say that you were, like I said before, we have projects that have a scheduler. So let's say that you, and we have reports that show who's coming in on a certain day. and you run the report and you realize that you're not going to have a nurse available, or you're not going to have a coordinator available, and you want to contact people, you will be able to see their email in the report and click on the link, and it will automatically open up your email program and allow you to, there you go, send an email to that person rather than having to go to the record and open up and find their email address. So that will be, a nice new addition. Oh, let's see. Yes. More detailed logging descriptions. Yeah. So again, sort of as they added functionality to the reports, they wanted to make sure they trapped in the logging options some more of the information. So I think I put it here. Right. So they're telling you the report ID that the change was being made to, and again, who made that change, and all of this is now included in the log. You can see clearly that they agreed to this. Again, this is key if you had to go back and find out who exposed your data. And of course, this is IRB reportable type action. You'll be able to find out exactly when that happened, what time it happened with a date stamp. So, it could be a very nice feature for you. I think it sort of piggybacks on dashboards if you've used them yet. If you haven't, you'll kind of see what I mean. You can make dashboards public also, but now you can actually make the reports public if you want. Let's see. Oh, yeah. So if for just to make sure that you understand what I'm talking about. So if I wanted to, like, say I wanted to grab the EKG form or whatever, I could come over to my Choose Actions and download this instrument zip. And then once I have the instrument zip, I can take it to a different project and upload that zip into your project, and all the variables will be available for you. But now if you do it, all the survey settings are now enabled. As it was in the past, you had to kind of go back in and retweak your survey settings, but now everything carries over. So you don't have to worry about only getting part of the zip when you do that. And then finally, the online designer, the custom text to display on the survey queue. Survey queues here. The text. Where am I here? It's just adding the rich text editor. Actually, add custom text to display at the top of there we go. Now you can use a rich text editor, and this displays a list of surveys to a participant, telling them what surveys are going to show up. You can now make this, use the rich text editor on this. So they're putting the rich text editor almost everywhere they can because it makes it so much much of a better presentation to the participant. All right, that's all the new features that I know. Oh, I don't think oh, I'm sorry. So let's go back here for a minute. I think over here to the reports, and if I'll have to research this a little more. Oh, this is another thing that was thrown in here recently, which is awesome. And I have not had a chance to demonstrate this yet either. So if we look at this report, notice this is a simple one. Notice it says that you get the variable name and the label. So if I come over here, let me see if I've got a better report here. Okay, this is better. You know, I have all of this stuff, and if you only want the variable or you only want the label, now you can choose if you want just one or the other. So if you just want the label now, you can do that, save it, and then view it. And you get rid of that variable name. So that's all I've got to show you for today. Are there any questions?